What's up, everybody? You're watching Model Aviator. I'm Adam, and this week we have something a little bit different and kind of special for you. We have an interview with Cliff Harvey from the YouTube channel Harvey RC Planes. I've followed Cliff for a couple of years now, and Cliff is a very interesting gentleman. He is the quintessential old school model aviator. He lives in Devon, England, and he participates in so many aspects of our hobby, from rubber-powered free flight to converting rubber-powered free flight models into electric radio control models to giant-scale radio control models. He enjoys the bench time and building as much as he enjoys the flying. He does indoor flying, he does outdoor flying, he covers events. There's a lot to see and a lot to learn from Cliff's channel. I know I have learned quite a bit about modeling in general and building airplanes from watching Cliff's channel. A lot of tricks up that man's sleeves, and he knows how to get the most out of an airplane. I have a lot of respect for Cliff, and I'm a big fan. So much so that we wanted to acquire an airplane that Cliff built on his bench. So Cliff and I have corresponded and supported each other's channels for a while now, and I just asked Cliff if there's any way we could get an airplane that he built. And so Cliff chose an airplane and actually sent it to us all the way from Devon, England. So another thing you're going to see, the kind of special part, is we're going to unbox that airplane on camera during the interview, and Cliff is going to explain to you what it is and what he did with it, and that is a pretty cool story in and of itself. So check this out. We just wanted to share this with you. Give Cliff a subscribe and check out his channel. You might learn something like I have, and you're certainly going to be entertained if you like model aviation. So check out this interview. We had a great time. It was an honor to talk to Cliff. It's an honor to have that airplane in the hangar. I can't wait for you to see that. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings. Enjoy this. All right, so we've got Cliff Harvey in the house. Cliff, thank you so much for joining us on Father's Day, no less. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's great to be here too. We actually did our Father's Day stuff yesterday, so as I could talk to you today. No, actually, it was because nobody could actually make it today. It was more convenient to do it yesterday, so we did, and it was just as well we did because it was quite a sunny day. Today's totally overcast, which meant I could cut the hedge without getting the sun in my eyes.
There you go. Well, that works. Yeah. So for people that don't know your history, how old were you when you got into model aviation, and what was your inspiration to get into it?
I guess I was probably early teens. I remember Dad built a Keelcraft rubber powered model. He got as far as framing it all up. We found it in the shed. Well, I found it in the shed and tried to make it fly without any covering, which, because it didn't last 2 seconds. But that spiked my interest, and so it started off with free flight rubber and free flight gliding, and then we got into control line with diesel engines, and there was about 5 of my mates. We used to do that. That was great fun. And then one of my mates, his dad was into radar controlled, and he said to me one day, "Do you want to come up, look at Dad's aeroplanes?" God, do I? So I went up, and he showed us all these models, and we joined a local club, and Dad and I built a David Boddington Barnstormer, which is a high wing sort of trainer type thing. And we bought a second-hand set of radio gear, because back then, I'm talking 70s, early to mid-70s, radio equipment was very expensive. The only people in the flying club were like members of the local golf club and what have you, because they were people with money, that could afford this sort of thing. But the servos were sort of, well, here's a servo tester. The servos were about that size and about 1.5 inches thick, great big things. But we had great fun. We flew and learned to fly on there and never looked back. So that's basically how I got into it. And of course, then you get interested in full-size aviation as well, and you do a little bit of paragliding and paramotoring, and eventually microlighting, and you get your license and have a bit of fun that way. And then you come out the other side of that and you realize model flying is so much cheaper, but not quite the thrill. But you can send a model up with a camera on it. But so that's how I got my start anyway. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that your channel is noted for is you are a fantastic designer and builder. Was building just a part of model aviation for you right off the bat, and you just didn't think of it any other way? Or is there some reason that you really enjoy the bench time? I think you enjoy building almost as much, if not more, than you do the flying.
I do enjoy the building. My highest grade at school was in woodwork. Yeah, I'm good with my hands. Both my brothers are good with their brains. I'm good with my hands. And I love the building. I love the construction process. I love getting a box and inside there's a large aeroplane just waiting to get out, and to put something together just from sticks of balsa wood, and you end up with a three-dimensional object which actually flies with a bit of luck. What could be better? It's the satisfaction from this hobby is second to none, I would say. I can't think of any hobbies that would be as satisfying as this. To actually, just to build a model and not fly it is got to be quite satisfying. But to actually fly it and see it in the air where it belongs, that's such a thrill. And I love teaching as well. So, I mean, I'm not the best builder. I'm not the best designer. I do enjoy like drawing models up, and it's only in the last couple of years really I've started to sort of put out my own designs. The bat or Da Vinci bat aeroplanes, which was last year's, took all of last year, and I've just kept it increasing the size and the complexity of the design, and that's really good fun. But this year it's the little yo-yo indoor models or calm day models which I'm working on, which is again great fun because there's so many. You can end up with a design. Oh yes, it flies nice indoors. Then you make a smaller one. Then you make a rubber powered one. Then you make an even smaller one. Then you make a glider version, and it's all the same design, just manipulated. It's so much fun. There's so many aspects to the hobby that you can make one design go a long way, which is great fun because I want to see how each design performs on in the different guise that it is.
Your tagline for your channel, if I remember right, is inspire, build, and fly.
Yeah.
And because I've got one of your T-shirts, that's how I know that. Because it's
I should have worn mine. I'll just go and change mine.
I really have an appreciation for channels like yours that really promotes the modeling side of model aviation. And I think a lot of the people coming up today don't realize that even just a little bit of modeling skills can help you with any airplane, even if it's a foam airplane. Just knowing a little bit about what you're doing and how to tinker with things, not being afraid to try things, which is what modeling is all about, is going to make the hobby better for you. And I just don't think they realize that.
No, you're right there. But my tagline came about, it wasn't always that. It was build and fly, or building and flying, something like that. And then a couple of people started saying, oh, Cliff, you've inspired me to do this, you've inspired me to do that. And I thought, that's rather good, actually. And to actually inspire somebody to do something, I mean, I get inspired too from other people's videos, is something special, I think. And I thought, I'm going to use that because it's so true. And I think a lot of people don't realize that you can actually build a model aeroplane. And they say balsa flies better. I think it does. I really do. It feels different when you're flying a balsa plane to a foamy. Yeah, I've got a couple of foamies, but I don't get a lot of satisfaction. The only satisfaction I get from flying my foamy is my Durafly Spitfire, my Mark 1 Spitfire, which is a different experience because I'm not flying it. I'm flying it because it gives me goosebumps, So, but apart from that, I don't fly really foamies. And I like to build, I like to design, and I like to share those designs and make the plan. There's another thing. You make the plans, you spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, days, drawing a plan up online, and trying to get the design right, And again, people don't realize you've got to love what you do, but you can't say, oh, I make a living out of this, because you don't. You really don't.
Yeah. Well, I think you do inspire. I mean, you inspired me. I've got one of those Micro Aces Fokker D7s in there. that
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
ever get time, I intend to build. And you inspired me to do that. Watching you build and fly some of yours, it's the reason I got it. And hopefully, people will see this and subscribe to your channel, check out what you do, and learn something.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, people will ask you questions. A lot of time, you get people saying, "Can you build XYZ aeroplane?" Well, no, I can't actually. I've got to want to build it in the first place, and secondly, it's going to be so far down the list of things. I know I haven't got enough time to build all the planes I want to build. Leave alone what somebody else wants me to build. But there's so much. If you can build one aeroplane, you can build another one. You know, I've got one guy, Steve, I think he's called. He's just built a cute girl, Dancing Wings cute girl. And he said he could never have built it without my help. And that's true, because the instructions were abysmal. And
Right.
he's getting very close to flying it now, and, you know, hope he does all right. But he said, what else can I build? And I said, well, there's a lot of other aeroplane kits out there which you can step up to. Dancing Wings do a nice Cessna type high wing thing, which you can do. And you know, maybe that's an option. But there's so many kits out there you can build, and you've only got to watch a couple of videos. There's a little heads up early thing for you. I've got a twin engine model winging its way to me right now, and it will in fact be my first twin. I've never built or flown a twin, so this one's going to be a surprise. But it's going to be a build video and then a maiden flight video, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's coming as we speak.
I've been watching your channel for, I guess, a couple of years now, and I'm a big fan, as you well know. I learn a lot from you, and when I first subscribed to your channel, I think if you remember, I was binge watching your channel. This was, I want to say, it was before we started our channel, so I actually had more time to sit and watch, you know, 20 and 30 and 40-minute YouTube videos than I do now. But I find it medicinal watching you build. And over the years I've watched you build, we've corresponded before, and you've supported our channel, which we appreciate so much. And I contacted you because I wanted to acquire something that you built on your bench. And you were gracious enough to send us something. And I have it right here. And it's a free flight model. This is the reason, in case people are wondering, that I've got this funky camera angle and I'm looking at Cliff here and the camera is there. So I've got enough room to open this box. And Cliff, you packed that really well. You've got a note here that says, "Hi, Adam. This is stuck each end to avoid it moving." So did I just pull this straight up?
Yeah, it's only a probably.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Lot of popcorn in there. Look at this. Look at that. So let me get this box back down on the floor here, out of the way. And Cliff, if you would, I know what this is, but they don't know what this is. Explain to everyone what this is and what you did with it.
Well, just go back to the beginning. 3 years ago, I was on the Gwillows Facebook page, not the official Gwillows Facebook page, just a fan page. And every year they do a little competition, little build competition, build and fly. And the idea is we all have a vote as to which Gwillows model we're going to build. And then we build it, and the criteria for getting into the draw for a little t-shirt and a kit is your model must fly for a minimum of 20 seconds, which I think is the AMA minimum flight for little competitions. I'm not sure, because obviously the AMA is American. Anyway, I think that's right. And so the first year it was a Fokker Wolf, second year it was the bird dog, and the third year, last year, was the chipmunk, which is what you've just unboxed. So I've got a series, well, 3, I think, build videos on the chipmunk, and then trying to get it to fly for longer than 20 seconds. Well, the guys on the Facebook page really help you to work out what's wrong and give you build tips. There's a guy called John Copternack who builds a model to join in, but he doesn't fly it because all his flies for like a minute and a half. But he does it for inspiration for us lot, and maybe like a couple of dozen people perhaps will buy the kit, and we have to build it by a certain time, usually weeks away, and then we have a go at getting our 20 seconds, which must be videoed, and you must say at the beginning of the video, this is an official qualifying flight for the 2023 build off, which is, I think, another AMA stipulation. And then you try and get your 20 seconds. Well, I was getting closer and closer and closer with that chipmunk, and one glorious afternoon up at the sports field, which is just a quarter of a mile up the road, Sal and I went up, and I managed 34 seconds with that model, and it was a video of it as well. I was so absolutely over the moon that managed to do it. I mean, in that time from building it to getting that 34 seconds, I pulled the wings off twice, or one, I think it was the port wing came off twice, and maybe the starboard wing got a bit loose, and repaired it. And you put your heart and soul into building a model, but then you're committing it to the great outdoors, and it finally managed. I think we were getting really short on time to get the qualifying flight in, but we finally managed it. And the relief and the release of emotion that this model had just done is qualifying, because I was counting 1, 2, 3 as it was flying, but you always count a bit quicker than you think. So you think you've done 20, but you've only done sort of 16. And when I reached about 22, 23, 24, I thought, well, it's bound to have done it now. So I just enjoyed it. And it wasn't until I replayed the video back home, I realized from launch to land, it was 34 seconds. So it was a glorious thing. So that model, compared to the other 2, which I entered, the Fokker Wolf and the Bird Dog, which only just scraped in 20 seconds, this one was really the best model I've ever built. And to do 34 seconds. So yeah, it means a lot to me, that aeroplane. And I think I wrote something underneath the wing as well, actually, Adam. I don't know if you saw that. I couldn't press too hard because it's only tissue and I didn't want to go through.
Regards, Cliff Harvey. Outstanding. So not only do I now have in our possession, in our hangar, a airplane that you built on your bench, but you also set a personal best record with this airplane for that contest, and you were gracious enough to send us this model. Thank you, Cliff. You said that you were over the moon and I know that you were, because I saw all the videos. I watched all the build videos on this, all your trimming flights, and you sounded like a little 7-year-old kid. The day you flew that and it did that, it was so cool to watch. But I am over the moon to have this in our hangar. It will go in a very, very special place, and it will be treasured from now on. I don't dare try to fly it. I'm just going to look at it and remember you and watching the process of this. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome. I'm glad it survived the journey over as well. There's 3 of us actually qualified over 20 seconds. And then Doyle Blevins, got to give Doyle a name check because he's an inspiration on that forum. He organizes the competition, really. He has a little wheel he's made and he spins it, and whoever's name it lands on is the winner. So it's 3 of us. And as we say, it was taking part that was the most glorious. It didn't matter that my name didn't come up this year. It might come up, last year, it might come up this year. It's usually around about August, September, we decide on the next model. So I'm looking forward. I'll definitely enter again this year, and hopefully I'll get my 20-second qualifier. But the thing is, it's not the winning, it's the taking part. And it really is for me, because I get to do build videos, and probably the most watched video is how to tissue cover a model. There's a dozen ways to tissue cover a model, but it shows the hobby off to the best advantage, and it shows people that you can do it. The number of comments I get that say, well, the most I've ever got is 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Yeah, you will. If you've only got a rubber motor, as we call them, don't call them rubber bands, the rubber motor, if that's only going to run for 5 seconds, your aeroplane's only going to fly for 5 seconds, not including the dive at the end. So, you know, you've got the rubber motor itself is an art in itself, because it's not just, it might be a motor that's sort of 4 foot long, but by the time you fold it in half and braided it, and that makes it shorter again, and lubricated it, you don't forget to stretch it as well. There's all these little tips, and then you stretch it out when you're winding, because you get more winds on it. You learn all this stuff by watching the other people's videos, and to a smaller extent mine as well. And so I knew that if I've got a motor run that's going to run for 30 seconds, in theory, as long as I can keep the model flying, I shall qualify, and that's the aim. So the only thing you're allowed to change is the rubber motor and the propeller, because the kit supplied ones were never really made for duration. So we can change those, but apart from that, it has to be a standard kit, and the more details you put on it, better. In fact, I think you were given an extra few seconds credit as well if you got it to take off from the ground, which obviously you need a decent area to take off, and we fly on grass, so you've got to hand launch it. But yeah, well, so anyway, I know you'll look after it, and it does mean, as you can see, it's quite rough up close. The things always look better on camera, but you know, the tailplane, I think that the tailplane's a little bit warped now, and you probably noticed it's got no glazing in it. That was to save weight, but that also may have caused drag. But I had a piece of sellotape over the windscreen in the end, just in case it did cause drag, which sort of blew off. But yeah, it's a lovely little aeroplane. And Guillo's, you've heard of Guillo's? It's an American company, or Gillo's.
Absolutely. Yeah, we sold those at the hobby shop I worked at. And believe it or not, I built a Guillo's Corsair when I was a kid, and tried my hand at flying it. Did not go well.
No. Well, they're not the best flyers, but over here it's Keelcraft built very similar models. But again, they were too heavy to really fly. They did do a duration range of models, of which I've got the Ajax, which I converted to radar control, which is just above my head here, which if I'd have started with that model instead of like a Spitfire or something, I would have got a lot more success, because they do fly very, very well once you've carved the propeller.
That's the one that Ian and Cheryl gave you, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah, that's it. Good old Ian and Cheryl. I didn't know it was going to come out as well as it did. Shall I get it down? Let me get it down.
Oh. We got Cliff Harvey in the house.
Yeah. So it only weighs a couple of ounces, but this is a Keelcraft competition model, and as a rubber-powered model, they fly very, very well. You'd lose it. I would lose it in our sort of smaller flying areas. But as a radar control model, just a rudder and elevator, in fact, it's only got half an elevator.
Right.
It flies beautifully, and that's only got a tiny little servo board with the servos on, and a 1S battery. Was it 1S on this one? I can't remember. Anyway, I think it is. But yeah, Ian and Cheryl came out, and it flies beautifully, and I covered it in a very, very lightweight film instead of tissue. I think it works, but it's not. Doesn't look too like a vintage aeroplane, but there you go. It's a lovely little flyer, and I have got another one to build, which a club member gave me an old kit which he bought when he was a child, and it's basically untouched, and that's on the shelf. That's a Keelcraft Senator, which is a very similar model to that one, which I'm going to build come later on in the year, and that's going to be probably, I'm thinking I might make that one rubber powered radar control. There's a guy in New York called, his channel's called Do More Math, must be a mathematician or something. He flies rubber-powered single-channel radar-controlled models, and they fly right up into the skyscrapers. I'm not sure if it's Central Park. It's something like that. Anyway, he flies them right up, and of course, single-channel, he brings them back down and lands them at his feet. But the rubber motors, the motors as thick as that, and they stretch out to 15 feet, and they fly for minutes, and great fun. So I might have a go at rubber-powered single-channel. Looks a bit of fun.
That is awesome. So, Cliff, if you had to give one piece of advice to a young person coming into the hobby, what would that piece of advice be?
Go down the model shop and buy yourself a little kit, probably an all balsa glider, and put it together and go up the field and just start having fun. And that's what's going to give you the bug to build the next kit up and the next kit up. And before long, you're building built up models and having great fun, as we did when we were lads. The benefit now, of course, is you've got YouTube and you can actually see how these things go together and how to finish them. And nobody's very good. Everyone's got something they don't like. I don't like doing the metal work, the undercarriages and stuff. I'll do it. But you can watch videos of other people doing it and think, oh, that's where I'm going wrong. And covering is another thing. And what glue do you use? It's as basic as what glue do I use? What sort of knife? What sort of, the number of times I've seen, what sort of building board should I get? There's a dozen different answers to that. And we've all got our preference. So I would say go down the model shop, buy a little balsa wood glider, or if you're really stuck, a foam one. But you won't build models if you buy foam ones. You can build little foamy ones, but balsa wood ones last longer, and teach yourself how to trim a model and fly. And that's what I would do. There's not many. All the model clubs around are all radar control. I hesitated there because that's not quite right. There are some indoor clubs dotted around the country, which cater for smaller models. But we're talking about guys who have been doing it for decades and they're superb at what they do. And they'll fly, for a minute or two with beautiful scale models. But I'm sure a club like that would encourage youngsters, because we all want to encourage youngsters because they're not coming into the hobby, are they? Yeah, I was just thinking then, if you can't get the kids involved, then if you had 1 in 100 people that flew ready to fly foam models to build an aeroplane, you'd have hundreds of people building aeroplanes because the interest is there. They're halfway there. They've learned how to fly. Now all they have to do is learn how to build, which isn't that difficult. I think Jeff in Lower Alabama put together a 4-star 40 SIG kit. That was his first model, and he made a half decent job of it. And he says he just loves flying it because it just flies so differently to foam models. He's got Cessna, what was it? I can't remember what make it is now, but he's slowly putting together. Come on, Jeff, get it finished.
I think it's a clip-wing Cub, a SIG clip-wing Cub is what he's doing. But I have to give Jeff a shout out. He is actually the guy that turned me on to StreamYard, which is what we're using to have this conversation now. So thank you, Jeff, for that. Yeah,
he's a cool guy. He does sailing boats as well, of course.
Yep, he's a good. There's lots of good people on YouTube promoting the hobby. There really are. But well, Cliff, I have taken a lot of your time already. Thank you for everything, man. Thank you so much for sending this. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. We're going to put a link in the description, obviously, with your channel. Hopefully, all you guys will check it out. You can learn a lot, and it's really entertaining. Take it from me. I've spent hours watching this man. So honored that you sent this to us, and honored that you took your time on Father's Day to chat with us.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, actually, Adam. And we could probably talk. I could talk for another 3 or 4 hours if you wanted to. But I'm sure people won't want to.
We may after I stop recording, but we're up to like 43 minutes. I don't know how long of a video I can make and people will still watch it. So
yeah, sure. Well, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant chatting to you, Adam, because you do talk to some pretty big people in the hobby. So I feel humble that you wanted me to have a chat, and humble that you fancied adding one of my little aeroplanes to your collection. So it's been a pleasure. I've loved being here. So thank you very much. And well, I'll see you on YouTube, or one day, you never know, might be up the field.
That would be awesome. Take care, Cliff.